Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Welcome, Lewis. We will be hosting a Joy of Profiles, and I'm really excited for this. Lewis has done an absolute fantastic job, and we'll be kind of like working with iCUE, and it'll be really great. We will be doing a draw for a K70 Mini at some point. Lewis, whenever you want to, just let me know, and we can definitely do that, and you can announce the winner, and we can go from there. Awesome. All right, well, take it away, Lewis.
Alrighty. Hi everyone. Welcome. Well, that was fast. Welcome to the Joy of Profiles. If this is your first workshop, my name's Lewis Gerschwitz, and I'm the iCUE content creator here at CORSAIR. I create all the profiles used for our iCUE gaming integrations, as well as the ones posted to the iCUE library on our website. If you've never seen his work, today I'm dressed as the incredible Bob Ross, whose show, The Joy of Painting, ran for over 30 seasons. In this workshop today, we'll do a quick rundown of some iCUE basics again, and then I'll be designing a profile along with an episode of Bob Ross's The Joy of Painting. I appreciate you all taking the time to be here. This is being streamed live to both the CORSAIR Discord and my own YouTube channel today. So if you have any questions, please ask them in the Discord, as Ludo can read them out as we go. With that all out of the way, let's jump in iCUE, hey? So, back here in this interface again, let's go to the home page first. So, your device list is here on the right side. And as you can see, I've got quite a few devices plugged into this machine, way more than any mortal man ever should. Up here, you have what are called scenes. So these are quick lighting presets you can apply. So if I click Rainbow Wave, you'll see that everything on my computer changes at once. And you then press it again to disable it. Today, though, we're going to be dealing with profiles directly. So this is the Korean Nebula profile that I created at the last workshop, and has become one of my favorite ones instantly. Once you've created a profile, you can go into the lighting effects directly, and then here is where you'll be adding them. And we'll absolutely go through more of this as we go through today. You'll see me be a little bit frantic for the first part while we follow along. But after that, I should be able to slow down a little bit and answer some questions and do a little bit more of the tutorial style stuff that we were doing last time. All right. So, with those few basics out of the way, let's create a new profile. Name it Bob Ross for this one. And we'll start our profile icon off with this nice titanium white. I will try and stick the moustache back on at some point. That fell off way quicker than I was hoping. And just with the show... Well, you know what? Speaking of the show, hopefully, if I fade this out, we can start it. Season 29, Episode 1. Island in the Wilderness. Now, there's a pretty popular trend called the Bob Ross Challenge. And so that's technically what we're doing today. The Bob Ross case. Just gotta beat the devil out of it.
Hello, I'm Bob Ross, and I'd like to welcome you to the 29th Joy of Painting series. If this is your first time with us, allow me to extend a personal invitation for you to get your brushes and your paints and paint along with us each show. And if you've been with us before, please allow me to thank you for inviting us back for another series of painting shows. We'll use about a dozen colors of some unorthodox brushes, and each show I'll show you how to put some of nature's masterpieces right here on the canvas. So I tell you what, let's get started. Today we'll have them run all the colors across the screen right there that you need to paint along with us.
Titanium white.
I'll tell you what I've got going up here. Today I'm using an 18 by 24 inch double prime pre-stretched canvas, but you use whatever size you'd like. And I've just covered the entire canvas with a very thin coat of liquid white.
Liquid
Liquid white
white.
is designed just to make the canvas wet and to make it slick. It allows us to actually blend color right here on the canvas. Makes your whole painting life a lot easier. So let's get started. Now today we just do a very simple little scene that I hope you'll enjoy. Let's start with a little 2-inch brush and a touch of the alizarin crimson.
Uh-oh.
We just
All right,
load
here we
it
go.
right into the bristles. Pull a little paint out, tap the bristles firmly to assure a nice even distribution of paint all the way through the bristles.
So you use
Let's go
crimson?
right up here.
Oh boy.
We'll take this old brush and just making little X's, little crisscross strokes. We'll just very quickly drop in just a little warm part in the sky here.
This is going to be tough, guys.
Little pink in the sky.
This is going to be tough.
And in our world, we can do anything that we want to do here. Any old thing. There. Doesn't take too long when you're using a brush that's 2 inches wide. Okay, without even cleaning the brush, we'll go right into little phthalo blue. I like phthalo blue. It's a very warm blue, very nice.
Oh boy.
Once again, just tap a little color into it, and let's go back up here.
Uh-oh. All right.
Still using our little crisscross strokes, X's. That's all they are, little X's. We'll just
Little bit of
apply
phthalo
the
blue, eh?
blue. Something about like so. Then we'll come back after we clean the brush and blend that together. Now the blue is many, many times stronger than this little pink area. It'll just eat it up, so be careful. Be careful. All go away. If you want to make the indication of a happy little cloud, all you do is just sort of tap. Little stringy cloud just lives right there in the brush. And that easy.
Hope iCUE stays together for today. Hope it doesn't crash on us.
Let's see what we have that on there. Let's have some water in this painting. I love water.
He's done like
It's
this.
very
All
easy to
right.
paint in this style. Still water is always level. And I think today we'll have still water. So pull from the outside in. Outside in.
Oh boy. All right.
About like so. All right. Well, I have a little brush going. I want to darken the corners a little bit. I'm going to take a little Prussian blue and just add in the corners here and there. A little bit up there. And we'll go over to the other side and add a little more, and then down toward the bottom. We'll put a little down here too. I'm just putting a little Prussian blue in each corner to darken it. And then the most fun part of this whole technique is washing the brushes.
Here it comes, guys.
Oil paints,
You ready for it?
we're washing our brushes with odorless paint thinner. Shake off the excess and just beat the devil out of it. That's really the most fun part. Now, with a clean brush, and it's relatively dry from just beating it, we'll start in the light area, which is the pink, and we'll blend it all together.
Okay. We're blending.
Something about like so.
I don't know how to blend in this. I'm dealing with static
Down
color
here, we'll
blocks at
just
the
do
moment.
Same thing.
We'll try it.
There. But it's that easy. That easy. What's so fantastic about this is that anybody can put a little masterpiece on canvas with just a little bit of
Yeah, that kind of
practice,
works.
a vision in your mind, and off you go. All right, that's working so well. Take a little white.
Little
bit of blue.
white.
Grab a little more of the titanium white. I want to make a light blue color here, mostly
Uh-oh.
phthalo blue.
All right.
And let's just tap a little color into the bristles. This little 2-inch brush will do marvelous things. Watch here. Watch here. Watch here.
James says, don't forget to
Take
clean the
corner of
brush.
the brush
Yeah. Yeah.
and just pull down. Something about like so. Straight down, straight down. I want to make it look like little distant trees.
Little
that
distant
far
trees.
in
Hey,
the
Bob.
distance.
All right.
A little more color, and we'll just have it. There you go. I don't know. Right there. In your world, you create any illusion that you want. There. But I want to keep the bottom light so it looks like mist. You could even take another 2-inch brush, and I have several. and
I need
tap
a keyboard with double the number of
Get it
keys, I
and
think.
tap it, and
But
then lift upward. It'll help create that illusion of mist right down at the bottom. And sometimes it's a lot of fun to put several layers. It helps create depth in your painting. And for that, we'll add a little more blue, but we make it a little darker. Add a little bit of Prussian blue to it and make it a little darker, but the same thing. And we'll come back and let's put another little layer in here. Just touching and pulling downward. That's all we're doing. That's really all we're doing. Something about like that. There. And we don't know where that goes. It doesn't matter at this point. And back to our other 2-inch brush, and we'll tap this. I want to create mist again. Notice this separation. It's caused because of the difference in color, difference in value. And that misty area turns out to
Hope you guys can see what I'm doing so far. Easy enough.
Treasure it.
It was a bit tough to get what's essentially like 5 video sources under the one screen comfortably.
Let's see. Let's take some black, some Prussian blue, and a little phthalo blue. It doesn't matter. We just throw it on there. Crimson too. What the heck?
Oh man, Bob, you're making my color choices difficult.
Put a little sap green in there too. It's getting close.
Little sap.
We begin seeing some color.
Now what color are we making here, Bob?
Don't want it totally dark yet. There. Perfect. Okay, let me wipe the old knife off.
I'm gonna have to wait and see what color that is before I start picking
fan
here.
Brush. We'll use a fan brush. Load it full of color. Both sides. Both sides. Okay, let's go up in here. Now maybe in our world there lives, does now, some little trees back in here. Now these are a little closer. You're seeing a little more detail, a little more distinct. There. And we just drop them in. We don't know where they go. Wherever you want them. That's exactly where they should live. Don't put too much detail in here. It's too far away. You're not going to see a lot of detail.
I can't put a lot of detail, Bob.
Detail when it's very close to you. When things are far away, you make out form, shape, basic color. That's all.
I might have to go up right here.
Save your detail to the foreground. The lack of detail helps also create that illusion of distance and depth in your painting. It's very, very important. Very important. Okay. I'm going to tap a little of that. That'll help create that illusion of mist down there too. There, lift slightly upward, lightly. Just a little bit, see? Now then, you know, when I was a traditional painter, one of the hardest things to make effectively was reflections. Watch how easy. I'll take some of that same color. We'll take a 2-inch brush touch and pull down. Just pull straight down. It's most important that it goes straight down. Something like so. Straight down. Make those little noises. And very lightly go across. There. And instantly we have some nice reflections. That's simple. Now here's something that's fun. You take a little, I just use a little white. If you want to create another plane in your painting, take a little white and lift upward. And it'll make little areas back here that looks like a whole different plane, and the white will end up looking like little trunks in those trees. There, that easy. Let's put a little water line. For that, we'll use a liquid white. Pull it out very flat, flat as you can get it. Cut across, okay? And we can go right up in here. And we can just drop in just a little water line. Just a happy little water line lives back in here somewhere. We don't know where it is.
I don't know if I'm going to fit a water line in this keyboard, guys. That's a very thin line.
Anywhere you want to go. A lot of times I start a painting and have nothing in mind but the time of day and the time of year. And from that, you can paint some fantastic little scenes. Don't worry about it. You don't always have to have a perfect vision in your mind of what it is you're going to paint. Imagination is, it's like any other muscle in your body, or like a muscle in your body. The more you practice, the better it becomes. Take some black Prussian blue.
Happy little water line. That's it.
Green in there. I like phthalo green. Maybe a little crimson. There we go. All right, let me wipe off the knife. I just wiped the knife on a little paper towel. I would just use that brush, little fan brush. Load some color into it, both sides of the brush. Both sides. Let's go up in here. Let's have a little evergreen tree. He lives right there. See? Just make a line, take the corner of the brush, make a touch. Make another one, and just sort of work from the center out. There it goes. It's easier to do them fast than it is slow, though. Here they come. Just sort of back and forth. I had a lady in class one time told me it was like making Z's, the letter Z. She called them Z trees. So I guess that's as good of an analogy as any. From the center out. The center of the tree should be the thickest, darkest, strongest part of the tree. Because you have leaves on the back, you have a trunk in the middle, and you have leaves on this side. We'll have one more in there. There we go. family of trees. You know, if you've painted with me before, I think everybody should have a friend, even a tree. Even a tree needs a friend. Now, if you want to reflect those, just pop in some general indications of where they are. No big deal, see? Because we don't make mistakes here. We have happy accidents.
He said the line.
Very quickly, you learn to work with anything that happens. Take the big brush, pull down, straight down once again, and then go across. And we have instant reflections. I just use that same fan brush. It has that color we made the tree out of it. And I go through cad yellow. And
We're going to make a lot of layers in this
immediately
video, guys.
green.
A lot of layers.
And we can take that green. Let's go back and put some highlights on our little evergreen trees. There they go. All right, this little tree here. He's saying, don't leave me out. I need some too. There we are. There we are. There we are. All right. Now, we'll put a little liquid white right on that same brush because I want to lighten the color and make it a little thinner. A thin paint, we'll stick to a thick paint. We mix them back up again. Let's go back up here. And we can just take this brush and let's just pop in the indication of some little bushes that live down here, right down in these little foots. Something about like that. How's that? That looks like a little island. Let's put some dirt there. Let's take some white.
Put some dirt there.
Mix them together. Cut off a little roll of paint. Let's go up in here. And we'll take this and we'll just put the indication here. A little bit of soil, some dirt, some kind. Got to have a place if this is a little island for all this to sit on. All right. See there? All there is to it. Okay. All right, we got to figure out something to do on the other side now. Let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. You know, if you've painted with me before, I like old big trees. Let's take a little bit of that color right there. Let's go right up in here. This is your bravery test. Take the corner of the old 2-inch brush, and let's just begin laying in a basic shape here for a tree that lives right there. Right there. Big old tree. But he's a nice tree. There he is. All right, while I got that brush going, tell you what, maybe let's do something about like this. And we'll just tap in all kinds of little bushy looking areas. You have to decide what lives here, how far it goes, how tall is it, how short is it, fat, skinny, in between.
If we have any questions that come through later, feel free to read them out.
And in your world, you make all the decisions.
Everyone's just enjoying it, following along and stuff, so there's nothing so far.
Excellent.
See,
But
we
I will
just
let
put
you
some
know if
dark
there's
in here.
anything.
So later on, our light color will show. We'll just grab another one. There's a fan brush right there. Take a little white, a little bit of the dark sienna. Just want to make the indication here, maybe a little tree trunk, maybe a little more dark sienna. That's nice. Okay, and right here. Just want some indications. I'm going to put some happy little leaves on there, so we're going to cover most of those up. Most of them won't show. We'll go right into that. Get a little sap green, a little bit of the yellow. We'll just put it right on this 2-inch brush. Give it a little push. Good shot there. You can see that well. Okay, let's go up in here. Now I want to put some leaves on here. Use just the corner of the brush. Just the corner of the brush. There we go. See? All there is to it. Just the corner. Think about shape and form. Drop these little rascals in wherever you want them. Wherever. You really are the creator on this piece of canvas. You can do anything. You can move rivers, mountains, create any illusion that you want here. When I go home, the only power I have is over the garbage. I can take it to the street all by myself. But here, I can do anything. Absolutely anything. I decided I wanted a bush right there. And I'll tell you what. Let's get crazy. You know me. If you've painted with me before, I like big trees, and we have one living in our world right there. There you go.
That is a big tree, Bob. That is a
We
big
should
tree.
have done this with a 2-inch brush. It'd have been a lot faster. There we go. Just drop it in. Wherever you think it should be. All right. Well, that's a big tree. I wasn't kidding. This is a monster tree. Huge tree. And you could have done it with a 2-inch brush just as easy, but much quicker. I like the old fan brush. It gives you a little more detail. Here we go with my smaller tree, because I think he needs a friend. There. Okay, just drop it in.
How am I doing so far,
Once
guys?
again, just putting in the background color. You could put this in with a paint roller.
Does it still look
Doesn't
like
matter.
what we're
The shape was right.
what it's meant to be?
Separate all of this with some nice highlights. Here's a little brown and white. We're going to put the indication just here and there of a trunk. Just what you can see here and there. There. You don't see it all because you have leaves on this side. We go back to our little fan brush. Go right through the cad yellow ochre. Load some color into
Kes
it.
does have a quick
go back
question.
up
How many
again.
keyboards do you have?
Let's put a highlighter to
It's
it.
over 10.
Evergreens are normally darker.
I don't know the exact number anymore.
than
I
other
keep
trees.
getting too many.
Don't kill all the dark area in you.
If I list them out, I can like get the number for you,
It's
but
feeling good and you don't
that requires me to like actually go through them all in my head.
base of the tree should be darker than the top. Big shadow areas.
Lots of people saying you're doing great.
In those shadow areas were all my
I'm glad.
friends
I'm glad.
In previous shows,
This
we
is a
had,
darker color.
like Peapod the Pocket
How many
Squirrel, my
layers
little
do you have
squirrel
so
that lives
far?
with me.
This is already statically at 20.
Show. But this is the kind
my
of places
gosh.
that he likes.
Yeah.
Let's take a little bit.
Big LDP
Color.
says, how
This
many
is
is too much?
Let's use the
Oh,
orange brush. We'll go through
Go
some
until your IQ crashes, I say.
green and some yellow. We have a lot of color to the brush.
Which
hilarious.
which we might get there today with this episode.
And we can begin picking out individual bushes, one at a time.
Individual bushes. Hey, Bob. All right.
There's a happy little bush. He lives right there. You knew he was there, didn't you? And he's got a little friend named Clyde. Lives right over here. There he is. So you can give all these things names, personalities. Shoot, it's okay. I'm going to take the little oval brush, dip it in some paint thinner. I'll go through some midnight black and some
You know,
brown
I should
on
actually
one
move this tree over.
I'll
I
load
reckon.
it full of color. I can. Then I'm going to take, and with the other side, I got some light brown I made earlier. I'm just going to go through, see, like that. Put a little black in it.
Oh,
make it a little darker.
IQ nearly
That's
went.
nice. Now, with that, I just want to come up here and make the indication. We can't see them, too much of them. Some rocks that live up there. Just some happy little rocks. Maybe there's one there. Something wherever.
Because I don't want to neglect this whole right side of the keyboard too much, you know? So this has
With
to
a
go
brush
under
we make
that.
bushes with, and we'll settle those right down into the painting. There now, see? Now they become part of the painting.
Now I've got to play catch up though.
There we go. Just like so. And we'll make all kinds of little bushes and trees and happy little things that live here in our world. All right. Okay. Shoot. We
Oh,
had
that's a
such
good
places
question.
that I'd have
Andreas
to go
asks,
fishing
on
there.
average, how many
like
layers
to
do your
fish.
profiles have?
I'm a very good fisherman. I catch a little fish and take the hook.
It
carefully
kind of
out.
depends on what the profile's
And
for.
turn him little
If it's for
sticky
something like game integrations,
put him back in the
the profile generally have about
catch him again.
10 or less. But for some of my more
We'd have to have a way
like
to get
advanced
it.
stuff that I put up on
Fish would take
the
a
IQ
little
library or on my website, some of those have like over 20 as well.
path. We had to walk all through these bushes. Mosquitoes would get us. So
That's a lot of
let's have
layers.
a
Oh
little
my goodness.
path that we can walk back in here. Catch that big
Well,
old
once you start adding like effects to individual like rows of keys or anything like that, it starts to like really shoot up, you know?
white, little dark sienna. Mix it together. Make a little highlight color. Just barely touching. Barely. Let it graze. Let it graze. That easy. That easy. About like so. Okay. There. Now then, let's put something on this side. You have something on the other side of the path. Now let's go on this side. Once again, I'm going to take a 1-inch brush. Notice that it's straight down and I'm pulling it in one direction. It's most important. That loads a lot of paint, and see it rounds one edge. You want to turn it, put that rounded edge to the top. It's most important. And then we take that and we go right up in here. No pressure hardly, just enough to get the brush to touch the canvas. And we begin working on shape and form.
With this is being a little bit
It's right there. That's all there is to it.
abusive with layers as well, where I'm kind of doing them a new one for every step of his painting, so I can layer it on top of each other.
You get greedy.
But if I was to just take this painting and recreate it, I could probably do it with
Bright red on there.
less than half the layers.
Right here. Oh yeah, it's got little. I don't know if you can see them. It's got little red flowers on the tip. Sneaky. There. And we can go back over in here, and we can begin adding in just little things that come out here.
I should have left more room for the path. I should have put it over here somewhere a bit more.
All right. All right. You got your brushes warmed up yet and you're ready? You can do this. You can do this. I know you can. I get letters every day from people all over the country that say they never believed they could paint, and they're doing it. Their friends and neighbors don't believe it when they look at their paintings, but they are doing it. There, I'm gonna put a little stick, Liz, right there, a little old tree. Maybe this little tree died and he's naked now, just a skeleton hanging out here. And that happens in nature. There, so we can put little arms on him that are still hanging out. All right. All kinds of little.
I think if I add this little dead tree, it'll just be like one light.
And these little details are what
Do
will
it.
make your painting look a little more finished. Take your time when you're doing these. And
Just to say we're following it, you know.
Here and there and there and wherever.
Andreas asked, do you always start with that
Light
keyboard?
brown with paint thinner on it.
No, actually, I generally start with the
It should
K100
be almost like
because then you do the lights down each side.
turn the bristles. That'll bring it to a very sharp point. There
And once we're done with this episode, I'll
All right. And
bring it
where it's
over to
very
that
dark,
to show you
we
what's
make little
missing.
Light trees. Where it's light, we make dark trees because they both exist
Awesome.
in nature. So you can put little. See, now there's a little tree. It lives back here. Just has a good time. Looks out over the water. Talks to the fish. That's all there is to it. Another way of making little sticks and twigs. Take your knife, just a clean knife, and you can reach up in here and just scrape right through the paint. See? And that'll make all kinds of little sticks. And let's come down here, we'll make a few more in here, wherever. You decide where they live. Sometimes these old evergreens here have old dead limbs hanging off of them. And you can do that just with a little flick of the knife. And shoot, with that, I think we about have a finished painting. It's that easy. Let's take a little bit of the paint thinner.
Wow.
A little bright red, and we'll sign this little rascal. Really hope you've enjoyed it. It's a very simple painting that you can do. And if you try it, I'd love to see some photographs of what you're doing. So if you have time, take a photograph, send to us. Let us hear from you. Until then, from all of us here, I'd like to wish you happy painting, and God bless, my friend.
God bless my friend indeed. Alrighty. You aren't really able to see it off that camera, are you? Because there's another keyboard sitting up on top of the... Oh, you know what it is? This camera stopped working.
Andreas asked, if you could have one celebrity as your dad, who would it be?
No, I wouldn't pick a celebrity. I'd pick my dad.
Aw,
Greatest man I know.
that's so wholesome.
There we go, got it back. That's a bit better. You should be able to see that the whole... Oh, no, that would have been under the video. All right. Well, regardless. Let's bring a bit of joy back. I don't know how loud that's going to be for you guys. It seems to be All right. Okay, guys, be brutally honest. How'd I do? Hey? How'd I do?
I think it looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah?
I think that's really cool. Vito says, did better than me. Asher says, it looks great.
Yeah, we ended up with quite a few static layers, but what we'll be able to do now is kind of extend it everywhere else, right? So, if I go find my cooler, let's start with that, because in the last workshop, I waited like 2.5 hours, I think it was, before I started putting lighting elsewhere on the system. So let's start doing that a bit earlier this time, hey? Oh, he did start with titanium white. But I don't know if we're going to need that behind it at all, because we won't be doing much with transparency at all. So, yeah, the smaller the keyboard, the harder that challenge gets, I reckon. I reckon anyone with the K65 Mini or the K70 TKO or the K70 Mini would really struggle to get all of that on the keyboard, I think. But maybe not. Maybe not. So, I'm adding a dark blue base layer to this first, because that was what a lot of his painting used. And in terms of what I'm adding next, I'm going to treat these 3 front fans, and I know you're not going to be able to see them terribly well. I might have to turn the system at some point, but my entire setup might collapse. So we'll see. We'll see. Lido, I want you to know that there was a point where I had my main monitor up on a power supply box, because that might have been the best way to have everything. Yeah. So
That's so funny.
Actually, if I zoom this camera out, you can start to see the jank that ensues. So this is a monitor that was added to this system. I've got 2 monitors here. So, yeah. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Alright, so I've added a lighter blue to that. Let's put that as like the middle band here. Right, we want that to be our, I guess, waterline is what he had. Actually, no, he had the bright blue at the outside, so I should do that. So that should be bottom layer here. And the top layer here. If we're going to do this properly. I can widen the camera again if you'd like. If that's... Actually, now that video's... What I should do is raise this up, because then this has more...
Is that the fancy new Elgato 4K webcam?
Haha, no, they didn't send me one. Otherwise I would...
Oh, no! The lens cap at the bottom left is driving Andreas nuts.
Oh, damn. Oh, yeah. I forgot that was in shot. Sucked in. We'll get it in post, hey, Andres?
Ooh, yes, we like the wide view. That looks so good.
Cool. All right, well, that's a good replacement for not having that video in that top corner anymore. And I can close it now as well. Okay, so we've got that bright blue on the outside. Might take a little bit lighter. And I'm going to create a copy of it. Take it just down just a little bit. Like I said, it's going to be a little hard for you guys to see. Maybe. If I run that through the center. Man, I don't know what to do in here. I was a bit messy with this one. I'll also do that on the back, of course. Oops, wrong way. because essentially this is going to be 2 identical sets of fans. I'll do it 3 and 3 because most people, I say most, have 3 fans up the front of their case. And so the idea is to kind of create a gradient that looks nice in that setting for the most part. Especially a lot of my recent game integration profiles are kind of function in that way. Alright, well now that we're on the wide angle, maybe I can... Do I have enough room to push this back at all? Oh boy. Alright, if that monitor falls off, chat, you owe me a new one.
We'll start a GoFundMe.
Yeah. Oh, put on the desk pad up. That's not good. Oh, now I've ruined the keyboard setup and everything. Oh boy. Well, no mistakes, just happy accidents. Take my moustache off of there now. Still can't really see the front of it though. If I can spin him without destroying everything, this will be a victory, guys. This is actually going to be my last bit of content made in this room, hopefully. I'm changing the location of my office. So... yeah, we start to see the front of that a bit easier now, at least. Alright, I'm happy enough with that. Let's recenter you. Yeah, we'll see if we can get this moustache to stick again, hey? I think I unironically have a terabyte of profiles, Bino. That might sound like a stretch to some people, but... because when I make a new profile, I keep it all ordered by version. And so I can easily go back if like a profile screws up on a particular version. I can go back and use an older one, or I keep things extremely neat with my work stuff generally. Or I try to. It's difficult. Yeah, this moustache isn't staying on, even with that new bit of tape, unfortunately. But we'll get a good, 20 seconds out of it at least. Let's do this, so you can see. Am I going to dox anything important? Don't think so. Not if I just show you this. So you can see... well, that was quick. So you can see here that this is all my iCUE 4 stuff. So if I do properties on this, this is 17 gigs alone of straight up profiles. The staple gun, hey? Well, I don't necessarily want to bleed from the lip. That wouldn't be a good look, and it'd be a very red moustache after that. So yeah, there's quite a few profiles in my collection at this point. Excuse me. I think at this point there's something like 800 profiles running the iCUE integrations. Yeah, but it also depends on how many devices you have, right? And because I've got every device, every profile I export is quite a lot. Hey, thanks, Nex. Love your work, mate. So if I bring up, so if I just bring up, this is the game SDK effects folder. So this is where all the game integration profiles live. So you can see there's quite a few here. 954 files in 38 folders. Each of these folders should have a priorities file, so -2 for each of those. So now, obviously, not all of them are suitable for like daily use or anything like that. Certainly not. Most of them are like quick effects that get used for what would it be? For like events and stuff like that. So if you get shot, things flash red, that kind of thing. So very like fast events. Now, where were we on this? Right. Now I was doing this like blue gradient in, and I wish I had kept the episode up to maybe I can bring that up still. Just so I can see that painting again. You guys aren't going to be able to see it, but it will be on my monitor. There you go. If it's in that bottom corner, you guys can. And I've accidentally minimized everything else. Cool. Love that. Cool. All right. So there was that little bit of pink through there. Let's see if we can add a bit of that. Hey? Yeah, that's got to be a little jarring. Lido?
No, it's actually really funny.
It's driving nuts, I think.
No, it's great. It's great. They're like, oh, something happened.
Yeah,
I'll be like,
yeah.
I'll be watching the stream like, what happened?
Yeah, yeah. It's a little bit more on the red, I think. Actually, that should only be on the top side, so we should get rid of it here. Yeah, because it should only be in that top gradient down. Which is fine, do that. Now, as with the stream last time, if there's anything you'd like me to explain better, like an effect or how you would do a certain type of thing, absolutely happy to try and help you out with that. I'm glad you guys can hear the music, because yeah, it's amazing. I'm assuming this video is probably going to get me a copyright flag, but I'm okay with that for this. It was...
Are you using DMCA free music?
No, this is the track from Joy of Painting. So I'm assuming this will get hit. So, but that's okay. I couldn't do a Bob Ross Joy Painting and not use the Joy Painting theme. Now, normally I'd just do a straight up gradient, but with these trees, they kind of lean across to this like kind of left side of the keyboard. So I'm wondering if I can do something with that in terms of the the lighting here on the fans. But it's going to kill me to replicate this about 50 times for every single device. But we'll see. We'll see. Alright, let's add in some of those greens, hey? That's on the back of that fan. Let's do the front. I think we're probably going to have to add some darker green into like this area of this fan. Let's replicate this to the back lot. And you can see I've done like this effect so far with way less colors than I had used on the keyboards. But that's because I was following along with everything. So now is that actually adding much? It's adding a little bit. We'll see if we end up going over it or not. Sorry, I realize I keep turning away from the microphone to talk. Hopefully that isn't screwing things up too much. It's hard to not just like groove along the music as it's playing. Also that.
No, groove away.
If I start grooving, this desk starts shaking and then we're all in trouble.
I can see that.
Yeah. Is that translating right in the front? You guys still can't really see the front of that, can you? And the mesh on the front makes it a little bit harder even. You start to get an idea about what that's like, hopefully. But I know you guys liked the wide angle. Now, if you're curious what cameras I'm using for all of this, the main face cam is just an old Logitech like 1080p thing. This one, the one doing the keyboard, is the Elgato face cam. And this one over here is my Sony A7 mirrorless. Now, one thing I'd like to ask the chat is, do we want to make this profile move at all, like we did for Karina? Or if it's just going to be a static painting? What do people think? This might be starting to go a little overboard for fans, especially when I have to replicate this across everything. But I'm doing a little bit of experimentation with this. Bit of the old happy accidents.
Looks like static is what we're going to be doing.
Alrighty. Makes my job a bit easier. Because making something this complicated move is a lot of extra layers, but I really hope the mic isn't bad. Because we're now a long way into the stream for that to be the case.
It sounds okay here. On my side, it sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, so I'm going to go show the... Earlier there was a question about the K100. So want to show what's missing. If I put that liquid white back through, you can see that all of the sides up here, these three lights, all of this, the G keys are also differently laid out, and you can see that if we bring up the old K95, because I want to, oh yeah, so you can see that it's this has 18 macros, and so this lines up with the K95 Platinum with these, but for some reason the K100 uses these 6 keys, so it's a little strange. But I'm trying to decide if we try and simplify this at all in terms of colors, but I think I'm going to lose a lot of detail potentially if I try and do that. I am overall pretty happy with how it turned out. There are a few little things that I'd want to like maybe lift a bit. Get some of this brighter green back into that tree. Stuff I like turned down in the moment because I was looking at this and not the actual keyboard itself, but stuff that doesn't translate at all when you're looking at the actual keyboard. It's a real shame about that moustache, eh? Now, interestingly enough, on the camera, all this looks a bit pink. I think the red is the dominant LED in that brown color at the moment, so there's not really much we'll do about that. I will say it looks more like a tan color in person than it does on camera. And this side is getting a little bit of glare. You can see that there's still a bit of that white that comes through that top, so maybe we'll address a bit of that. There was a blending blue that I used here somewhere. Ah, that's right, I used it at the top and bottom. Okay. Alright. Let's pull that down into those a little bit so they're not quite bright white. Now, in terms of the keyboards I have, because that was another question I got asked earlier, I have the original K95, the K95 Platinum, the K100, the new K100 Air, although it's not plugged into this machine yet. Oh lord. I have 3 K70s. I have a K70 Japanese version, a K70 Lux UK version. I have 2 strafes. There's the K65 Mini. There's the K70 Mini Wireless. Oh, the K55, the K55 XT. I do have a K60 as well. So what's that? That's already 16. I don't know if I'm missing any. I probably am. Do I have any plugged in here that I haven't listed yet? Oh yeah, the K65 Lux I've got as well. That'll do. Honestly, that'll do for now. Yeah, 17. I don't know if I can answer that question, big LDP, because I don't know what else is left. I don't know what I haven't covered at this point. Alright, so I show the key difference between the K100, and we've done the fans. What we can do now is go across to this desk pad, because this desk pad is in shot, so we might as well add the lighting to that. Oh, not solid, static color. Solid, for those wondering, is if you want to do like a repeatable pattern that doesn't have any fall off at all. So it's like a simpler version of gradient, where on gradient you can do the same sort of thing, but you can actually drag this down. And so you can like create peaks and valleys. But on solid, when you do that, it actually adjusts the height of everything. So you can't. There you go. Trying to teach people things at the same time. Let's go a little bit lighter. Because I'm thinking...
So Unitaco asked, do you have any nanoleaf that you create iCUE profiles for, or any that support them?
So I do have nanoleaf panels. I'm still, due to the projects I'm working on currently, I'm still running a iCUE version that doesn't support it yet. So I'm on, I think this is iCUE 428.174. Easiest way to check that is to go to settings and updates. Yeah, so I'm still on 428.174 for a couple projects that still need this version. But I do have some nanoleaf panels. They're not set up yet. And eventually my profiles will hopefully support them. I do have Philips Hue, which aren't on right now because they live below the desk. If I turn them on briefly.
Deploying flashbang.
Yeah, I deserve that for looking right at them. Damn. But when the reason why I turned them off is because they throw the green screen off a little bit. You can see that in the bottom corner here with the color. It's like a blue shining up from them at the moment with the Carina profile. I'll turn it back off again, so I don't accidentally blind myself later on. So yeah, I try to support as much as possible with things, but there's only so much I can do at a time, unfortunately. I don't know how well that blinding flash showed up on stream, but there's a clip. Alright, I'm pretty happy with this blue, so what I might do is just rename this to... Sure, it's Bob's Blue now. Save this to library, and this is how you can take colors across to different devices. So if I go to here, oops. Oh, of course you don't want to work on this. That's fine. I do have I created my own auto hotkey macro list that then works with the Stream Deck, because obviously I'm doing a lot of profile manipulation. So you might be able to read on this that I've got stuff like delete on there, and I've got save to library, library copy, color copy, color paste, stuff like that. So generally helps my workflow, but a lot of those, because normally I'm using this main window instead of the smaller one for iCUE. So all the positional stuff doesn't line up properly. But if people are interested, I can give a quick demo of how they help. Alright, so that's my motherboard and my GPU lit up now. Now, you can't use the library on headsets at all, which is unfortunate, but You know, not the worst thing in the world. So instead of saving a library like we normally would, instead let's copy the hex value, which is what this color copy macro does. So it actually clicks tabs 4 times and Control C's, and you'll see that on this side, if I go to static color and then do the color paste, it should do the opposite. And that was so fast that iCUE didn't keep up with the window opening and closing. So we'll come over to this one and we'll do the same. And I'll actually tilt my head and show you. As we do this one, it should change. So hopefully that was a visible enough difference between the two blues to show that. Alright. Nice. As you can imagine, I'm doing a lot of color manipulation between like copying them from one place to another, and so yeah, that one especially helps quite a lot. Just gonna make sure at the very least I get the blue down on the mice. And there's like 3 major groups of mice. There's what I'd say is the largest family, which is like most of the common wired mice. So like the Night Sword, which is this mouse, is in it. You've also got stuff like the Glaive, the M65, the old Saber was in this category as well. The Scimitar also lives in this set, and so does the Ironclaw Wired. And then outside of that, in a separate, like what's called a pool, so it has like separate lighting. So you see that this doesn't have any lighting layers on it at the moment. This is the Night Sword. If you go to the Dark Core, this has lighting on it, and so this is in its own pool. I got a Death Wish. I don't have any hidden unreleased products. The only thing I had that wasn't released up until now was the K100 Air, which now that's out and being talked about. So in a separate pool again is this is the Dark Core Pro SE. In a separate pool again is the Dark Core SE. So if we go back to this pool over here, you can see that lighting doesn't carry over. But if I add this blue, you can see that it's got 4 zones here. If I go to the Glaive, it's now got this blue. Same with the Scimitar. And funnily enough, the Harpoon also lives here, even though it's only got the DPI for the wired version. In the wireless, you can set the backlight. But the wired version is... I forget what that is. I think that is the DPI light on this one, because it doesn't have the LED there. The wireless one has a DPI indicator and the backlight, so... It's quite interesting wearing a beard over a beard, Goonie. I'll say that much. This actually attaches to my ears using elastic on both sides. Alright, so let's add, at the very least, this blue to the RAM so that you guys can see that. We will add more colors to this, but I want to lock in my kind of design here first. I wish it did, Lido. I really wish it did, because I mean, you can see how much bloody tape I've added to the back of it now. It's well, so this one's fake, but mine is not. Oh, Goonie, that's really sad to hear that you don't like my fake beard, you know? No, this moustache absolutely isn't staying. It's going to drop off. There it goes. Hey, Higgs in my YouTube chat. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Yeah, next time I just need like a row of LEDs strung across the bottom, Lido, I think.
I like that idea.
Yep. the cameras will hate it, but all right, let's. What do we want to do here? All right, I'm going to rename these layers so that I was using 3M tape, Deathwish. I mean, I've also got a mustache, so it doesn't help at all, of course. Doesn't really like sticking, regardless. Unfortunately, I thought I had another roll of 3M double-sided, but once the first bit of double-sided wore off, I then only had like some other off-brand double-sided tape that it was nowhere near as good. So that's why it like immediately comes off when sticking it back on. Now, I normally add a bit of a naming convention to layers that I use for similar things. So on a lot of my profiles, you'll see, especially most of my recent stuff, you'll see like effects for stuff that I'm using on like fans or other internal devices. And then I'll just have like that same name without any modification for like keyboard lighting. And then I might add an M if I need to do different lights again for like mice or something like that. So it just helps me keep things organized when you're dealing with as many lighting layers as I am across several hundred profiles. It helps to just not have like 400 static color 10s, you know? And this is advice that should, if you're a creative in any other space, you either already know or should be naming your layers. It's if you don't, you should, because a little bit of in-software organization goes a hell of a long way to working faster with things. All right, so now that I've got those all named, I'm going to save them to library. I think I got them all in. Yep. All right, so we're going to do the pump head. And then on the Alika Pelix, when you do the pump head, it should then also automatically add the lighting to everything else. James in the YouTube chat, thank you very much. I'm glad you liked it. So I'm just going to re-add all these lights to the pump head. And then I got to now design it again to be really annoying. So I'm going to deselect all of this so I can then try and do my best to blend it all. So this was light at the top. I'm going to do this dark blue across here. I'm going to put this across there. Realistically, I shouldn't have this base layer because I don't know if it's getting used at all. You know what? It probably is getting used on the fans now that I think about it. So I'll keep it. Now I can't like crane my head to see my own cooler. I'm looking through the stream to see it. Oh man, designing by proxy is not the easiest thing to do in the world. I'll give you that. Yeah, we'll just stay on that dull green for that other bit. Alright, I think that's pretty acceptable. Yeah. So now I've got a snapshot to compare it to as well. So we can go back and forth between that. Instead of having to have that video up the whole time. Kaber, Kerbenog, however you pronounce your name. It's absolutely wig. I promise you, my hair is not permed. Fun fact, actually, Bob Ross hated the perm. Hated it. He got it one day before they started filming, and then it kind of became his brand, and so he had to keep getting it for the entirety of the 30 seasons. Which is wild to me, that you would be locked into a hairstyle you really hated for that long. So. Alrighty, so next steps on this. Now we can either start replicating lighting to elsewhere, or we can do some touch-ups on other things. I think I'll add a bit of green to the mice. So right now it's all static blue. You can just see that in there. So let's add... Actually, don't do that. I've got greens in here I can use. So I'm going to do it on the logo. I'll add another one. And this can be on the rear for this mouse. Oh, wrong one. How about that? So, rear on this Night Sword is lighting zones that are on this bottom. So this is front, scroll, logo, and then rear across the back there. So I've got just like the regular blue up top, and it looks different because of the different kind of LEDs and diffusion that's going on, but that's the same color. And then at the bottom here, you've got the logo as that kind of lighter green, and then this is our darker green. But once again, because of the diffusion, they look kind of similar. So I also don't know how well that's actually being picked up by the camera. The mirrorless on this side is picking it up alright. So, but we might make this a little bit brighter. And this one a little bit darker. Oops, dragged it into purple. I'll go a little bit brighter with that blue. Lido, if you're talking, I heard like little flashes of you speak, but it like didn't actually come through as anything. So I don't know if you.
Oh no.
Okay.
I'm here.
Just making sure haven't lost you again like last time.
Nope, we're good.
Good. That is a very intense blue. But it works on the mouse, so we'll leave it. So, like I said with those pools before, I've now added those lights to the library under mice itself. So I can come in here and add in these three, get rid of this one. And I want to set it up kind of the same way I had. This mouse doesn't have a rear, so instead I'm going to use the side this time. We'll just leave the scroll. So it'll be, the rear is this little light around the thumb button. This is on the Dark Core SE. And then we're going to go back all the way to these ones. Now we can play a little bit with this one because you've got so many LEDs along the side of this mouse. So I'll just delete this out and then we'll go with this, and then we might add in this darker blue as well. So if I add this darker blue to perhaps just to there. Then if I do this on the logo on the side, oh no, not logo, sorry, scroll. And I'll add this color to 4, 5, and 6. And this color to logo. So we've got like kind of this really bright green at the back, this kind of darker green here on both sides. There's another little LED on this side of the mouse that you can see in this picture. And then we're taking this darker blue up through here before it gets to this like kind of really bright, vibrant blue at the front of this mouse. Now I do have one of these plugged in, obviously, but it is in a drawer directly underneath this desk, so I'm not going to be able to show you the physical item itself, unfortunately. Alrighty, what next? What next? We should do the lighting strips that run around the inside of this. So let's do that. And then we might be able to call it there, I think. Now, there are, as you just saw, there are triangles in this build, but currently I think I need to re-plug them in. I think they've come loose. So we'll come down here and we'll go across all these effects. Now, effects doesn't mean anything in particular, it's just the label that I've chosen to give them. Once again, we'll deselect everything so that we can kind of work with the base and work our way up again. But I'm going to do that same sort of thing we did with the fans themselves, where I'm going to treat this as kind of two separate strips that represent the same thing. So like we did with that, it'll be both ends of this. We'll have this lighter blue with this darker blue. The top side's going to have this pink. Now, I say top side, but it depends on how they're oriented in the case. So that's those. This really deep blue was here in the middle, I think, on the others. I'm going to just do basic across those, across that. I'm really like sprinkling some of the highlights here. Now, one thing, if you're having to replicate this complicated lighting across multiple things, the one thing you can do is just take a screenshot of it and then try and work off of that. If you're using a lot of like moving layers though, you may want to go to each layer where it's got like its selection and then take a screenshot of that in particular. So for instance, if I go to this, and you can see I've got like these 4 lights that are kind of pretty unevenly dispersed. And so if I want to like replicate that in future, what I'll be able to do is take a screenshot. So I'm using a program called Share X, and for me it's just Control Print Screen, and then I can click and drag a selection, and then I have that saved as a screenshot. So I can just come back and reference that, oh, this Bob Ross Effects number 2 used that as the selection. You can also just take a screenshot of the full iCUE, then you get the layer name as well. But it just depends on how much you're going to remember in terms of when you're designing it. I think that's like a lot of the LED strip up there. I don't know if you can able to see it at all on camera. I don't think so. I think the camera's a little too high up in terms of seeing. There's a strip that runs along the top of that. But yeah, and so from here, in order to finish this profile off, I'll have to go across every single one of these devices and replicate it. This is the K70 RGB Pro Mini Wireless. So you can see there's also zones down here that haven't been touched yet. It shares some of the side zones, only 4 lights of it, with the K100. But the main thing about these two mini keyboards is that they have 3 LEDs on the spacebar, so that also needs to be added before I release this profile into the wild. And I do plan on releasing it, same as I did with Karina. It will take me quite a lot longer to clean this one up, unfortunately. And I do have a lot of things going on in my life right now, so I will hopefully get it done reasonably quickly, but I cannot give an estimate for sure. Yeah, so I think it's a much shorter stream than the last one, I think. Is there anything that people want me to go through or explain out or anything like that? I'm happy to answer any and all questions that come through, rather than just like ending it abruptly here.
We can also, we also are giving away the K70 RGB Mini.
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
So I shall draw right now. Give me one moment. And if it hits someone who's... Oh. Yep, that did not work. Give me one second. I didn't break it, I swear. Awesome. So pick me up 9889. I will send you a message. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And I'll collect your info to get that all sent out to you. Awesome. But yeah, if there's any lingering questions anyone may have, definitely post them in the chat, and Lewis will do his best to answer it.
I think Taco Cat Bell?
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a delay. How would I make a static profile animated? So depending on how complex the profile, one like this, you know what, we could do it with this if you wanted to. We could I could show you how I would. Generally, I do it these days with a lot of rain layers and wave layers. So the rain I tend to use on layers that are the same color as it. So I'll pick out a lot of the greens here. Obviously, I'm not going to leave it on random colors. It's on a lot of the greens here. I'll change that speed to slow. I'll just throw in some other greens onto it. So I'm doing like a pale, little bit more yellow on that one, and this is like a quite dark, very dark green. Might be a little too dark even. But I'm not looking to affect things much. Just enough to kind of flick across things. So the main bits of green that I tend to look at as well are there. So now you can see a little bit through here. You see it starts to like dance just a little bit. In terms of doing this again, but with the blues, take a bit of that. You can kind of like just continually add to stuff. You will get like diminishing returns after a while, of course. And you don't want to go too out of the norm with like the colors that are being shown, because you want things to change, but you don't want it to, well, in this case, for this profile in particular, you don't want it to be like too wildly different. Because if I was to add like a bright pink here instead. Or did I accidentally deselect all my blues? I did. That's why nothing's showing up. Oh, that's annoying. Don't know when I did that, but oh well. Easy enough to fix. Alright, so yeah, you can see that if I put like this pink highlight in, you can see how often that one color is getting played. And so put it like this nice mid blue. So the rain is a really like popular way for me to do it, and you'll see that in a lot of my more modern profiles. Rain is not a effect that has always existed. It's only really existed since iCUE version 3, I think. Originally, I was doing everything using waves. So if I go to here, create a wave, you can see that this is... Now we talked about the directions in the last workshop, but to go over that again quickly. You've got 0 is your left to right, and then it's 90 is bottom to top, 180 is, of course, right to left, and then 270 is top to bottom. So it goes around this way. I did have... Let's see if I still have that here somewhere. Tools, directions. So you can see this is the kind of directional way that lighting works in iCUE. I can actually... I've done that in the chat again because it's useful to people. Alrighty, so in terms of like adding movement with a wave, obviously this is quite jarring in terms of what it's doing. It's repeating every 1 second, so let's bump that all the way up to 7. Let's slow it right down. I'll do 7 again. I want to kind of offset it on an angle, so I'll do like 30, maybe a bit more, like 70 maybe. There we go. Now you want to make sure that when you're doing your lighting time and your velocity, unless you're doing an effect like fire, then it doesn't really matter. But for an effect like this, you want to make sure it actually clears off the other side of the keyboard. I'll go back to the platinum. We're doing this on, so I don't have all the extra nonsense. Right, so we got this wave going diagonally up, and right now it's white, but we'll leave it white so we can see what's happening. So I want to bring it through some of these green areas, I think. I'll just kind of hold control down so I can do multiple selections. Maybe take it out of some of these middle areas, add it back in others. Because we don't want it to be everywhere if you're trying to add movement. Like, it was very obvious when I had that white wave going across everything. But now, you can see it's much less prominent. And what we'll do, because we can add gradients in and out, right? So now we get like this smooth transition. And you'll really see what I mean. If I, again, set this to pink, you should see exactly what that's doing. So it should like cruise up through the keyboard and you'll see that like replicated. But that's all that we're trying to do with this, really, is just add that little bit of offset to all these different colors, especially a lot of those like dark areas through like the WASD. It'll really like pull that up a bit, and just briefly. Speed's still a little higher for an effect like this, but actually instead of doing that, what I'll do is I'll extend the tail. So the tail is how long a wave is. So if I create a new one, just to demonstrate this better. So I'll do 2 seconds. I'll do 20. here so you can see it. Alright, so that is with a tail of 4, which means it's like 4 LEDs long. When it comes to waves, it's not set by the time, it's set by the tail. So if I make this 20 now, you see that's a much longer wave. Right, but now you need more time to fit it all in. But if you make it like too long, like 10 seconds for instance, it doesn't just automatically replay as soon as it's crossed the threshold. It waits that whole 10 seconds. So what you can do with that then is you can have this like gradient out. So you see how it's like fading out at the end of that wave. You can also make it then fade in, which is what we're doing on the other effect. We're having it fade in and then fade out again. So it's a much nicer little gradient. So it's like a shimmer that you might see on like text effects and stuff like that. And you can do that same sort of thing to your profiles. Like we are here. So we're adding just this like little shimmer. We'll do 20 because that's what we're using the other thing. You see everything within those keys now should get like bright for quite a little while. There it goes. And then goes off. And so you can continually go around the keyboard and do that to other little bits and pieces. We might add another one in here because it's a little bit of a dead zone at the moment. In terms of, because I started making a tree up through there. And that's like those back trees that he did originally. So now we've got a copy of that wave, so we don't need to do a ton to it now. But if I change this angle, I'm going to go around 1... No, actually, I want to do like 100. So it's about 20 degrees off. And I'll do it over here instead, so it won't be on those, it'll be on this. On some of these like duller blues. I'll pick out some of these, a few of these brighter ones as well, just so it's not entirely on. Now it's going to look a little weird for the minute because it's going to still be green, but we'll change that in a second. Alright, that'll do us, I think, in terms of keys selected. Now if we come over here and we add... So you can see this is where that color and paste macro really comes in handy as well. So now, once again, hard to see. I'll make it a little bit brighter so the camera can pick it up a bit easier. And if I make a new layer and then deselect everything, it's much easier to get a read of what's going on when you're looking at the screen itself. Hopefully you should be able to see it on camera. A little bit, yeah. And then we also want to offset the timing of this one so it's not lining up the same all the time. We want to like give it an odd value so it never like repeats in the same kind of pattern. Because that's you want to create like, you can't create actual randomness in iCUE, but you can create like a pseudo randomness. So if you get like offset timing for everything. So yeah, that's how you'd make a static profile move. Hopefully that answers your question. You do exactly the same on like the fans, for instance. Yeah, and then easy enough to undo as well if you're not happy with it. You just delete out all the layers that move. You can also achieve this with some gradients as well, which is like the kind of third method I'd use for something that needs a little bit more finesse. So say if the rain is like too fast still, or if the wave itself is like too much, you can do gradients in like little lines. And so you do like this kind of thing. And you could get it in here even. Don't do it the whole time. With a gradient, as opposed to a wave, right? You don't have the tail to set the time. You're literally just using the time. So this now represents 1 second. If I change this to 10, this now represents 10 seconds. So this represents it ending at 4.4. So you're going to kind of set something reasonable. And then you can see that just on this little bit here that I've done it on, you see that kind of like flashes up and pulses down again. But you can like add as many of these nodes as you want to. Obviously don't recommend adding a ton of them because it gets really hard to kind of manage your time and stuff. And the verticality here is your light opacity. So if you don't want things to show through fully, you can just kind of like, this one's full opacity, this one's like 50%. Excuse me. So you can do that as well to create like really subtle effects that you can't do with like rain. Rain is like, turns the LED on full to that color and then off again. With this, you can kind of be like, I want it to make it half green for half a second. So you can do a lot more subtlety with it. And we might even add that through some of this. Because what we took out when we added a lot of that brighter green in is a lot of that darker green and that blue, right? So we can go to here and we can make this like this nice darker green. I'm going to actually extend this out a little way as well, so that every 3 seconds or so. And then we can change its order in the stack if we wanted to as well. So we could have it play underneath that wave if we didn't want it to like overpower it. But that's not a bad little thing to add. So you can see these keys here. Yeah. They're just doing that little dip. So. Hey, the winner's in the chat. Look at that. Congratulations, pick me up. Congratulations. All right. Now, was there another question? James, I do not have any tips for the iCUE integration with Wallpaper Engine. That's not really my domain. That was made using our older SDK. And so it's not really a profile-based thing at all. And I did touch it briefly when we were initially working on it and trying to design it. I think I helped design a lot of the initial shapes and wallpapers that we did. But in terms of any tips for using it now, that knowledge is lost to me. So, if there's any other burning questions you guys are wanting to ask me, fire away. Happy to show you guys stuff using this profile or using another profile or anything else in between. So, just let me know. I'll wait for the delay to come through. But if not, Lido, I think we'll start to wrap it up, hey?
Yeah, we'll give it a couple seconds. I mean, you can always kind of like start going with the outro for now, but thank you very much, Lewis, for joining us. It was absolutely fantastic. I thought it was hilarious doing little Bob Ross stuff. It was awesome. I had a lot of fun. So thank you very much for joining us. And Big LDP is wondering what your favorite Corsair mouse is.
Favorite Corsair mouse? I use a couple across my different computers. So this Nightcore. Is that correct? Did I say that right? Night Sword. My goodness. We got too many different names. The Night Sword is my favorite to use on the designing computer because it's got dedicated profile switching buttons, which is extremely helpful when you're doing this kind of work. On my main computer, I'm using the new the Saber Pro, I believe it's called. Yeah. Yep, that's the one.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm using this one on my my main computer. It's a bit more of like an esports focused mouse, but I like the lighter, and it's still a cabled mouse.
We also do have a wireless, I'm pretty sure too.
Yes, we do. I prefer wired mice. I don't like incessantly charging things, except for I do use a wireless Harpoon, and this is actually linked to my other home computer. Oh, did it freeze again? My goodness. That connection's a bit dodgy. It's running through a HDMI cable that runs across the length of the desk. It starts over here and runs underneath the desk all the way to the computer. But we're hopefully it hasn't been frozen long, but we're gonna end up.
I think it's okay on my side, anyways.
We're gonna end up stream soon, anyways. So
Yeah. So thank you very much, Lewis, once again. Absolutely fantastic. It was fun having like some people following along and stuff like that. But yeah, like hopefully we can do this again sometime in the future. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Always love having you on here. It's so great.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hope it was helpful to people. Entertaining, a bit more so than the last one, perhaps. The last one I think was more so informative than anything else. This one obviously a little bit less of the instructional and a little bit more of me following instruction. So, sure. But yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining. My name is Lewis Gerschwitz. I am the iCUE content manager for CORSAIR. It has been my pleasure painting with you today. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Lewis Gerschwitz. My YouTube channel is also Lewis Gerschwitz. On Instagram, I'm Schwitz, so SCHWITZ. Feel free to hit me up on social media or in the Discord if you have any other questions later on. Yeah. Thank you everyone for watching. And in the spirit of Bob Ross, God bless.